Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is 2 teammates from Basilisk facing off against each other. Now spawning right here in the top right hand corner in game number 1, playing with the red Zerg drones. We have the man who's considered to be the greatest StarCraft 2 player of all time. We're looking at none other than Serral's main hatchery. His opponent though, playing with the blue Protoss species, a man who's been making a name for himself over the last few years. We have none other than Trigger. Alrighty, a best of 3. Let's see. I haven't actually seen Trigger play too much as of late, so I'm excited to find out exactly where he is currently at. Don't get me wrong, I still believe that Serral is the favorite going into literally any series. Against some opponents, less so than others. Maybe against Clem, it's more like a 55% advantage, maybe a 60% advantage for Serral, but across the board, I believe Serral is the favorite against practically everybody. But he has looked more human as of late. So let's see if we have a robot Serral or, well, Serral. Assuming, you know, that you believe he's a human as well. The jury is not yet out entirely. What about MaxPax? Do you think MaxPax is a human? Probably. The odds exist that he is. I mean, I have listened to interviews with him and all that, and he sounds awfully human, but technology is beautiful. Alright. For now though, nothing all too spicy. Hatchery into a gas geyser, into a spawning pool for the Zerg. Trigger going for the low ground fast expand here. So this was probably a 20 supply Nexus into a 20 supply Cybercore, although there are some varieties that Protoss can go for. Ultimately though, they all lead to the exact same early game. And that is going to be a Stargate opener. He doesn't necessarily have to go Stargate, it's just considered to be the best one across the board. Adept starts up right now. We could go for a Twilight Council, we could go for a Robo facility. I'm assuming we're gonna see a Stargate over here. Come on! Nah. Alright, fine. To be fair, that would have been quite a weak placement because the probe would have to go all the way around. Stargate gets planted down, but a little bit closer to the gas geyser, so the worker doesn't have to spend any time. Well, or a little bit less time, rather. Moving all the way on around that assimilator. Either way, third hatchery right now coming up. Cybercore is going to be researching the warp gate upgrade. This is something that Serral will have been paying attention to, so this is one of the little things that Zerg players at this level will focus on. So the normal time, right, if you're going up against a Stargate, is the timing of the research for the warp gate right now. So it's a few seconds after the Cybercore finishes, like maybe 10 seconds later or so. Any variation, so say it's a Twilight Council opener or a Robo facility opener, that research will begin immediately. So even though Serral hasn't seen exactly what his opponent is going for, he hasn't actually seen physically the Stargate. This is a Stargate opener, basically 98 out of 100 games. Especially with the Twilight count, especially with the Adepts now going in. They're gonna start being annoying. 2 drones, 3 drones. A couple Spore Crawlers also forced. Does cancel one of them. Oh. Live! She stopped walking, dude. Why did she stop walking? Alright, Oracle swoops in. Currently unscouted, but yeah. As soon as Serral gets a glimpse of it, he immediately moves the Queens in position. He actually canceled both Spores. Absolute madman. He was forced to make 2 Spores against the Adept. He canceled one of them, and then a couple seconds later, I guess, as soon as I moved the camera, he also moved the other one. Canceled it away, but yeah. Now he's maybe paying the price a little bit. 4 drones, though, is very acceptable as far as early game damage goes. I would say that for the most part, the game is even now. It's just that Zerg gets to do whatever they like for a little bit longer. Trigger is not going to follow this up with an all-in, I don't think. This should just be Blink together with +1 ground. There's the Twilight Council finishing up. I'm expecting Blink. Busy microing the oracles at the moment. There it is. Serral also is going to be expecting Blink, just based off of everything. He clicked on the forts there. and he knows the timing of it. Extra gateways coming up. Third Nexus, of course, at the appropriate time as well. And we've got ourselves a nice little macro game to start this series off. Okay. Roach Warren is done. Lair coming up. Nothing out of the ordinary there either. General timing of it is like 4:30 to 5 minutes or so. Start time of the Lair, that is. Yeah, when you move in like this and you idle the oracles for a second there, I never believe it to be a very strong play. Nah. Like, he basically idled the oracles within the Creep Tumor's vision. So what's the point? At that point, like, even flying into the natural feels like a weak play. Serral doesn't have perfect vision on it, but just knowing roughly where those oracles are located is big. He's expecting them to, yep, show up over here somewhere. Just looking at the trajectory, right? So this is actually something you can tell as a Zerg player pretty much all the time. When you're going up against Hellions, it's a very similar movement pattern as when you're playing against oracles. Like, effectively, if you see the oracles or the Hellions leave down this path, they're very likely to appear again on the other side of the map. Rarely will they disappear for a little while here and then appear again in the exact same spot. Most of the time, there's like a shift Q command onto the mini-map that both Terran players and Protoss players use to go around. And it becomes quite predictable, actually. I think if you're playing Terran or Protoss against Zerg, you should try to be less predictable with that movement, or at the very least consider that Zerg is very much so making that assumption. Most maps have like 2 or 3 attack lanes at most. Anyway, Infestation Pit coming up. Hydro then are researching the speed upgrade. The Hydras are already coming. These are not links though with +1, so they're pretty easy to kill here with just Stalkers alone. This will be something that Trigger has clicked on. He must have clicked on one of those Zerglings to confirm whether or not they have upgrades. And if they don't, yeah, you can actually just sort of fight. You can face tank a lot of the damage here using the Stalkers. Excellent push here by Trigger. Excellent. I think he lost 1 Stalker. Yeah, look at this. 2 Adepts and 1 Stalker have gone down in this game. I mean, he hasn't really slowed down the Zerg economy very much, but if you look at the worker counts, he's A-okay, and he's actually building up a 4th Nexus of his own. Now he's using the Zerglings in stasis as a, whoa, a force field. Excellent. Really well done here by Trigger. I mean, outplaying Serral in a macro game is a very nice way to start a series off. This is, of course, a best of 3. But this is looking good here for Trigger. Yeah, don't think you can really be in a much better position against Serral when you only do 4 workers worth of damage early on. Excellent. We're going to be seeing Quick Storm, it looks like, or at the very least Archon production. Charge, together with +2. All of it is cooking up. Trigger now at 77 workers, by the way, versus 65 drones. Serral does have a 4th hatch, but I mean, this is mostly just the drones that were a surplus in the main base. Moving on down south. Okay. +2 missile coming up here as well for Serral. So, the few games that I've seen Serral play against Protoss as of late, he is going for very committed, like maxed out attacks. I wouldn't be surprised if that's going to be the case as well in this particular match. I wonder if he wants to go into full aggression again, or if he's actually, okay, we are going Hive. If he actually wants to play Hive. This could be a really nice snatch though here for Serral. Target fires down, the Nexus, no cancel. 400 minerals down the drain. Trigger should have definitely canceled it. Okay, Lurker then coming up. That may have taken the wind out of the sails here of Trigger. Sniping a few Hydras before ultimately blinking back down. There's a lot of Zealots available at this point. This is full gateway style, by the way. We're up to 12 gateways already. Lovely opener here by Trigger. It's been a little while since we've had the NA strats. So this is 12 gate into straight fleet beacon now. Very nice. Yeah, Serral getting a taste of the North American special here. There's no European Protoss that really execute styles like this. It's actually really neat. It may just be able to work. It's 9 drones, by the way, going down. So, in a very strange way, Trigger is trying to play this style that Zerg usually plays against Protoss. So he's effectively just making more stuff than the opponent can because he's got a bigger economy, right? That's broadly what Zergs normally do. They get a bigger economy because of that drone mechanic, right? That larva mechanic early on. They make a whole lot of workers, and then they start building a whole lot of army. Well, Trigger now is not taking the most efficient traits, although I don't think he's really doing a poor job in that regard. Just sending in wave after wave after wave of Protoss. And this is a banger of an attack. Serral actually, yeah, jamming the queens between the mineral lines, and that's obviously why these lurkers, by the way, are so good, right? Lurkers are going to shut a lot of this down. They were the end of the tunnel here for Serral, so they were the lights at the end of the tunnel. He's going to be able to force the Protoss player back. Already, though, Immortal production has begun. We didn't, by the way, get Storm, so it's just for Archons. Tempest coming up. I would love to see the Mothership here. I think the Mothership is a no-brainer. 400 minerals, 400 gas. I mean, as long as you can get it out, right? As long as Zerg doesn't, like, catch you off guard. Look at the supply counts right now. I think it's a no-brainer, dude. The final 8 supply, boom. 192 out of 200. Trigger starts up the Mothership. Pretty much a perfect game here by our Protoss. It's got a lot of zealots, so the supply count is maybe a bit inflated. But as soon as he sees the Zerg player commit to a full attack, he's gonna try and buy time. The only problem here is that he doesn't seed his army until right now, and there's lurkers in the mix too. Instant recall. I find it dangerous. I find it very dangerous. He's hoping that the Mama ship can maybe save this. I wouldn't have minded it if he decided to just give up on this. Okay, he's gonna lose the Nexus, but Zerg is gonna pay the price by losing their entire army. This is Serral's opportunity, though. He's got one shot, one opportunity to seize everything he ever wanted, one moment. Will he capture it, or will he get Mom's spaghetti on his sweater? Well, you know what? This was actually a banger of an attack here by Serral. I can't believe he got this much value. I think Trigger should have counterattacked. Rather than commit, recalling into lurkers is one of the plays. But I don't think it's a good one. It's rarely a good one. If times are desperate, and you feel like you need to recall into lurkers, okay, so be it. But when you're leading a game, I think recalling into lurkers is not the move. Storm. It's now finishing up. That should have been finished a little while ago. I think Trigger was also maybe starting to feel the nerves a little bit. He's like, oh my god. I'm actually doing it, dude. I've been out playing this sucker for a while now. Serral who? Now suddenly this game is looking a little bit flimsy for Trigger. I don't mind this position, but he needs to cool down a bit. This is when Serral can certainly grab the reins of the game once more. Excellent interception. That's kind of what he missed as well previously, right? He didn't have that army, so he had to, like... Oh, this game has been recovered from replay. All right. Sorry, did we have any chatter? No. Okay, somebody must have disconnected and they decided to continue the game. That previous attack that went straight through the middle of the map, right? That Serral executed. That was... Ooh. That was also not spotted. So I think Trigger just immediately recalled and tried his best. But he has to slow this game down a little bit here. And I actually don't mind this at all. He's still certainly got an economical advantage. Protoss player is obviously not super used to playing from that position. So there might be more urgency in his play than there really should be. But I think he can push the Zerg player back to creep. Just don't go too deep onto the creep yourself. Yeah, this is good. Try to max out. Try to max packs out, Trigger. Sorry. That was so funny, Loco. I'm gonna hit the like button. Thank you. No, that was pretty bad, actually. But I do appreciate you. Thank you. All right. Couple of lurkers here. will be able to shut down those zealots, but at the very least the zealots will give the heads up that this army is located on this side of the map. A couple zealots over here as well on the far bottom right. Keep in mind, of course, that the mothership can cloak this army. That's why the overseer is here. Yeah, so Trigger basically is just trying to get up to a maxed out army. Serral has decided he is effectively all in with the units that he's got right now. Not keen to make a proper late game, and oh, that was beautiful by Trigger. He's like, you want to lunge in, buddy? Perfect. Storm. Very effective. Wow. Just like that, it's our Protoss player who obtains the victory in game number 1. Next up, we find ourselves on the map El Dorado. So, where did it go wrong for Serral in the previous game? Honestly, he didn't play poorly. He just found himself slowly but surely getting at an economical deficit. One thing Serral's been doing a lot against Protoss as of late is go for that quick +1 melee. And I think the quick +1 melee is much better against those Stalker follow-ups. Now, of course, these two, they are on the same team. I don't really know exactly if they, like, spend time practicing custom games. Not exactly sure, but there is a chance that Serral did not quite expect the Blink Stalker follow-up. Obviously, +1 melee is not as useful if you're assuming your opponent is, say, gonna, I don't know, go for, like, an Archon Zealot all-in, right? We've seen those before on 3 bases. If you assume that that is the build that Protoss is gonna go for, then +1 melee is kind of pointless. So you may as well save yourself some of those resources, but yeah, Trigger played a stellar game. And keep in mind, we did see a couple of critical errors. I think that recall towards the 4th base, like not having vision out in the middle of the map, having no observers and no spotter units anywhere, that was a big mistake by Trigger. And that is something that's a little bit worrisome, because that is something that really shouldn't be happening at this level of play. The panic there into a full recall, just unnecessary and not really the correct move. Secondly, we also saw that attack earlier with Zealots, or with Zorklings rather, from Serral going across the map, and he got a free kill on the 4th Nexus without a cancel. So that was not by any means a perfect game for Trigger. Couple of relatively sloppy mistakes there, but he still managed to get the job done regardless. I think his overall game plan was solid. If he can just tidy things up a little bit from the previous game, we should see, well, honestly, full domination. But let's see. Protoss players across the board, they've been looking really scary. Serral, by the way, once more with a pretty quick tap out in the previous match. I mean, I think that game was pretty much over, but we've been seeing this quite a bit as of late. Serral not playing the game out because he does not believe that there is a chance to win. So why bother staying any longer? He's not playing for the fans. No, he's playing to win. If anybody finds it enjoyable to watch in the meantime, that's a nice bonus, but that is not why pro gamers tend to play against one another. Well, Stargate opener once more here on El Dorado. Serral already has been working on those skinny mineral fields down on the low ground here. And we should see a hatch. There we go. Where's Trigger going to be building his 3rd? Usually 3:45 or so is the normal time. Is it going to be over here? I guess so. Judging by the fact that he still hasn't made these probes mine out the skinny mineral fields. Ooh, a Void Ray first. Let's see. A lot of players, by the way, will be ramping up their practice regimen again. In case you missed the announcement, the EWC, the Esports World Cup, announced that they are once more doing StarCraft 2 this year. Sometime in the summer. It's when the EWC is taking place. And last year, it was a prize pool of over $1 million. So, you know, I can't imagine that Serral's like, yo, it's nice being a StarCraft millionaire, but maybe we can be a multi-millionaire? Actually, I'm not exactly sure. Should I look this up real quick? They haven't announced their prize pool yet, but assuming it's similar, esports earnings, assuming the prize pool is similar to last year, so Clem won $400,000 first place prize, and then like I think another $50,000 for like MVP awards or something. I don't really know the exact specifics there, but It was 450k for a single tournament. Yeah, Serral is currently sitting at 1.66 million as far as total StarCraft 2 tournament earnings go. So assuming Serral wins the EWC in 2025, it would be a StarCraft 2 multimillionaire. That's pretty cool. I remember just a few years ago when a lot of the players were, well, a lot of the players, like 3 players, were just about to tip over $1 million in earnings. There's actually a real possibility that Serral is going to hit 2 million if he, you know, well, he would have to win the entire tournament. Yeah, you know, yeah. Nice bit of aggression here, though, by the Lynx, but the third Nexus is going to live. And we will see a Twilight Council. We're going straight into the Glaive Adepts. This is, of course, where the Void Ray is really nice, because the Void Ray denies any scouting. Now, it, yes, denies any scouting, but also this is becoming a little obvious, because most of the time it's a Void Ray into Oracles. This is now a single Stargate just for a single Void Ray. We haven't had anything produced out of it after the Void Ray. Serral hasn't seen any Oracles, and therefore he knows that the money must be spent elsewhere. And now he's going to see a bunch of Adepts going across the map. So the Roaches are going to be an absolute necessity. Serral already, though, leading this game now by 13 workers. Trigger needs to deal some sort of damage, and he sort of put himself in this position. I don't really like this follow-up too much, although it's good to bring some variety in a tournament series. You're not going to get the Hedge. There's no way. The longer that this goes on, the worse it's going to be for these Adepts. Roaches are available now. Queens are targeting down whatever they can hit. Drone production has actually continued now, too, for Serral. Mixing in a bunch of workers at a time. Although Trigger is catching up as far as that worker count goes. Obviously, he doesn't have to be spending his larva here on army units. He can just produce the probes 3 at a time. Assuming he's on top of the production, which at this point he's not. He's got the money for it. Hello. Can we start up some more probes, Trigger? Oh, he's supply blocked. Oof. Oof. A 93 out of 93 supply block. That's ugly. Ah, alright. Well, that sort of makes this game a little bit trickier to play. Protoss does not have the luxury to drop a supply depot out of the high heavens. Imagine you could change out one of your chrono boosts for extra supply on a pylon. Sounds a little broken to me, guys. I don't know. I've always hated that ability very much. The supply drop ability, genuinely, it always seemed like an ability to me that they meant to add to Zerg and then also Terran, or to Protoss and Zerg as well, but they just never got around to it. Why does Terran have that? I'm gonna keep bringing this up, okay? Maybe one day my voice will have a say in the matter, but I think it's stupid that Terran gets that and Protoss and Zerg don't. Not the end of the world. I actually think it's a dumb ability overall. Maybe just remove it altogether, but anyways. Trigger is actually gonna follow this Adept shenanigans up with a full 3, well, now building a 4th Nexus, but a 3-base attack. This is... I find this all a little shaky, and this is a great attack by Serral, actually, just delaying this attack and dealing a good bit of economic damage, too. The problem is that Adepts fall off the longer the game goes on. They're, generally speaking, not used after the early game. So when you have your Adepts, like half your army is Adepts here, when you still have this many of them, it almost like dilutes your unit composition a bit, and you look at your supply count and you're like, oh, it's pretty sick. This is more like 120 supply worth of Protoss in my mind. Going up against 166 right now of Zerg, it's a little dangerous. Maybe sitting back here is the correct play. Yeah, he decides to actually just send the Adepts now back. So I don't think he's really going to commit to a full push. Serral trying to get lucky. He's up all night He's up all night to make banelings. Getting a slow waddle into your opponent's mineral line is almost disrespectful. He's gonna try. Oh no. Don't tell me this is gonna work. Trigger, look at the minimap. Trigger's currently looking at his army. No! Oh, okay, well, I mean, at least he did a good fight in the middle of the map in the meantime. But again, this is an army made up out of, well, at least like a quarter or so adepts at this point, and maybe I should have more faith in them, but I don't. Corrosive Biles, fight on creep. Biles hit the Void Ray. Ay. Force fields? Nope. Sentries are going to die as well now. Okay. Yeah, wrap it up. This is disaster. Absolute disaster. Here's these adepts in the meantime now. Running in, shading in, hoping to get lucky. Much like those banelings from earlier. They, however, did not get lucky. Serral does get lucky, dude. Pro gamers always get lucky. That's how it goes. If you tell somebody, hey, I'm a pro gamer. That is something you tell people on a first date. Immediately. Success guaranteed. All right, let's see. Did he get the Prism too with the Biles, by the way? Where did the Prism go? I saw the Void Ray getting bowed down, but I wonder if he got the Prism there as well. Because I didn't see the Prism full. Maybe it's sent around the site? Anyways. Serral going back to good old Roach Ravagerling Bane. This is something he played for a long time before the Baneling nerf. The Baneling nerf is now already, I mean, very recent change. Only like 3 years ago. So very recent patch as far as StarCraft history goes. That being said, this is still a good unit composition when you have a significant advantage. Although the longer that this goes on, the more I actually like it for Trigger. Because this is very, very expensive. This is not something... Oh, maybe these Zerglings can justify it. This is not something that Serral's going to be able to sustain off of 71 drones for too long. Okay. Yeah, he gets the value. He gets the probes over at the start, and then he also kills the Nexus now. Okay, that got a little dicey there for just a moment, but Serral got the big value targets in the end. Okay. Yikes. Yeah, GG. Honestly, that was a really well-played game by Trigger until it wasn't. I know that sounds silly, but he was in a really good position, and then, yeah, Serral did Serral things. Alrighty, and that means that this series, it comes down to Frostline. Final game. Serral looking a little bit more rigid in that previous match, right? Like, Trigger trying to get a little fancy, really focused on the micro and all that, but then just not paying attention to the absolute basics. I mean, it sucks when slow banelings kill your mineral line. Like, obviously losing probes is always bad, but it's especially painful when you have a bunch of slow banelings that were technically within your vision on the minimap for like a good 10 seconds before they finally exploded. That's just even worse. Because you notice the red mark on the minimap, you click on that location, right? So, in his case, probably hotkey F3 for the third base. And he sees that the banelings don't even have speed. That's when you can kind of get stuck in your own head as a StarCraft player. You look at that and you're like, oh my god, that was never supposed to happen. Come on. Serral almost overextending, though, with the Ravagerling Bane. Genuinely, when you're playing full Ravagerling Bane off of 71 workers, you run out of steam really quick. So if there's ever an opportunity for Protoss to stick around on 4 Nexi and build up their armies, right? If Protoss gets up to a similar army supply as Zerg, that's it. Like, Zerg loses the game from there. So, Roach Ravagerling Bane, it used to be a very reliable strat back in the day. These days, it's more of like a specialty choice. And I think Serral played it really well. Well, the score has been evened up. We have a clean reset here on Frostline, so let's see. It's actually a theme that we see from Protoss players, by the way, pretty much exclusively. So the way that Protoss armies work with Twilight Council, it just requires a ton of micro. So I'll be the first to admit that 90% of the Zerg micro in the mid game is attack moving. Right? You select your army and you try to set it up from a couple different sites. Say there's an army over here, you just attack move, and then you can look at the minimap again. But as Protoss, you have to look at your army to decide when the force fields are going to be planted down. And then obviously you also got to make sure that your Prism is in a good position and that you can actually begin your Blink Stalker micro. And when you're actually actively looking at your army and you're trying to make that decision when you're going to force field and do all the rest of it, you can't really be looking at the minimap at the same time. So it feels messy, it feels clumsy. But until humans can spec into chameleon eyes, or maybe we can get like a heads-up display and like Google Glass or something, and we can actually see the minimap whilst looking at the middle of the screen. Yeah, Protoss is gonna keep dying to random stuff like that, and it really gives Protoss a bad look across the board. It looks so bad when you lose a bunch of minerals or a bunch of probes in your mineral line to slow banelings, but I don't think that's really going to change. What if one day, though, a pro gamer is born who has a weird mutation that allows them to control their eyeballs individually? They will have no depth perception at all, but I guess you don't need that in video games. No depth perception, but they can keep one eye on the minimap at all times. That will be the perfect Protoss player. The dream. Anyway. If Protoss players can get bionic eyes and have like a third eye permanently pointed at the minimap. Gamer moment. Alright, Twilight Council will be the weapon of choice here after an Oracle. Just a single Oracle though. So in the first game we had some variety in that department. In the second game we went Void Ray first and then nothing out of the Stargate. Now we're gonna go a single Oracle just for Revelation apparently. Didn't even get the full Revelation though. He did get the energy recharge on the Oracle it seems. I think you should actually kill this creep tumor too. The problem is Trigger does not yet have a third, and Serral is gonna try and delay it even more. This is really rough. Normal timing for a third is about a half minute ago. Finally, it will be coming up. We're just gonna go for another Glaives all-in. Yeah, okay. You need to deal damage with this. Exact same thing as in the previous match. Losing an Adept or two right now would be a disaster. Lucky the Oracle was close. Bunch of Zerglings, though, still going to main base. And Serral now knows why that third Nexus was late. Okay, so what has Serral seen? Well, everything's normal, but he knows that the third Nexus is late, and therefore the resources of Protoss must have gone to a faster Twilight Council. And you would never go for a faster Twilight Council if you're planning on going Blink. It doesn't make any sense. So it can only ever be Charge or Glaive Adept, and considering he hasn't seen any Zealot Warpins and he has seen Adepts, this is going to be an Adept all-in 10 out of 10 times. So Serral's response is to stop droning at 52, go into a Baneling Nest, and I guess we'll see a lot of those little roly-polies in the future of this particular match. This is still going to hit hard though. Trigger has a real opportunity, but this is very much so up to Serral now to mess up. Serral going in for the counterattack. Any Adept missteps here, any Adept delays are going to hurt. Where's that Oracle? Oracle is in the meantime on the other side of the map trying to be, well, useful, I guess. I think this is right. Serral evacuating the third makes a lot of sense. All he needs right now is time. Still, though, that's a lot of Adepts. Oh, Banelings, Banelings, Banelings! Oh, that's a Zerg dream right there. Oh. Whew, okay, that was hot. That right there. That was hot. Yeah. That is for all intents and purposes also GG. Even though Trigger still has 3 bases and he's fine economically. I mean, obviously the Zerg eco was quite slowed down. That was effectively an all-in, falling not entirely flat on its face, but not it dealing the critical amounts of damage that he was hoping for. Again, by the way, the Adept Shade does have a vision radius around it that is smaller than a regular Adept. But obviously those Adepts, those Shades, they were hugging Banelings. He knew that there were Banelings there. He should have canceled that Shade. He's so busy, though, dealing with these Zergling run-bys, and this really is a theme in a lot of Serral's games. He's relentless with these Lings. And even though the run-bys tend to get cleaned up pretty easily, it's making the main attacks micro a lot sloppier, because you have to now split your attention. Ay. Man, close your eyes if you're a Protoss player. If you're a Zerg player, take a screenshot. It'll last longer. Okay, I apologize, but that was that was a brilliant gameplay there by Serral. Reading his opponent like a book, recognizing exactly what needed to be done, and executing it flawlessly. GG.